concert hall manager at the Turner Sims.
How do you come to work within the arts?
Well, it's interesting. I was a music student quite a long time ago now, but I was a music student at the UEA in Norwich, and I wasn't a very good performer, I have to say. I mean, I was very bad at playing the violin and other instruments like that. So I focused on wanted to do arts administration, and so when I joined and I was in the first year at university, I wanted to work with orchestras and choirs in the city in Norwich, and I ended up ushering at various events and going to do various concerts in the city centre as well as at the university, and it developed from there, so that by the time I left UEA I was moving on to work for an orchestra in London who'd met me whilst I was a student and said, we've got a place that's become available in our management team, would you like to come and join us as a volunteer at that point? And I spent 10 years managing orchestras in London and working for concert venues around the place, doing all manner of different concerts, from classical concerts to pop bands at Wembley Arena and things like that. And then moved on to directing a festival for 5 years, which was everything from stand-up comedy to ABBA and Madness tribute bands in the open air and symphony concerts in cathedrals, and then came to Turner Sims in 2000.
Can you talk about your role now then at Turner Sims?
Yeah, so my role, as concert hall manager, I have, I suppose, two roles. One is that I'm the artistic director for the programme, so we have a promoted season of about 75, 80 concerts that takes place through the year. Classical music, contemporary jazz, world music and folk music. And I programme the whole series, working with artists, with agents, with various partner venues and various partner supporters and sponsors across the whole year to make that programme happen. And the other part of it is being the head of the organisation. So we're funded by the Arts Council, we're supported obviously by the university as well, and we're part of the university. So the conversations with the university, with the Arts Council, with various other supporters that we have, I lead on those. We're members of the Europe Jazz Network, so I have meetings with colleagues across Europe talking about jazz there. We're members of the British Association of Concert Halls, so we've got a network with concert halls going across the UK. And so all those discussions, all those conversations about issues that we face as venues and promoters for a start, but also the opportunities that arise for working together and partnership projects are things that we organise there. And from a university point of view, the conversations with academics and with students is all about how we can then just develop something which reflects the unique space that we sit in, because not every concert hall in the UK, of course, sits on a university campus. So we've got something very distinctive to be able to develop, whether that's tying in with research projects or whether that's working with students who have got enthusiasm to be able to make lots of things happen, and how we can actually help them deliver that.
How has Turner Sims brought a wider awareness or engagement of the arts to the public?
Well, I suppose being on the campus at Highfield for a start, it's right in the heart of things, so therefore it's a visible presence. And the programme, I suppose, that we develop here is a mix of those artists that people are familiar with, and so if you're coming to study here or if you work here, then there's people who will be very familiar to you, well-known musicians across all the various art forms that we work in. But the other thing we've tried to do is to try and introduce some of the new names, the rising stars, so that one has an opportunity to see those people right on your doorstep. So you don't have to travel to London or wherever else to go and see these artists. So the programme is very distinctive from that perspective. But within that, there is opportunities, I suppose, for students to get student price tickets, and the opportunities for the chamber music programme, where there's a free ticket scheme supported by the Capitina Music Trust, which gives free tickets for all of the string quartets and the piano quintets that we present as well. And there's all manner of other ways to get involved as part of the whole, the initiatives that we try and put on, whether it's coming to a workshop, being part of a masterclass, or just meeting the artists, which is something that we've got obviously the contacts with as we go through preparing the season. But if one wants to meet some of the artists here, then one can do that and just talk to us and it will happen.
Specifically, what are your plans for 2019?
So we're just about to launch the autumn 2018 season, which runs from September through until January. And there's a really interesting mix there of some of the jazz names coming in from Germany and Holland and Scandinavia as well. We're working with Southampton Film Week to present Metropolis, that extraordinary film Metropolis, which is a silent film, but we're bringing two musicians to do live accompaniment to it, which will be an amazing event. It lasts 2.5 hours, the film, but it's just one of those iconic films to go and see. There's Jess Gillam, who's a saxophone player, who's playing the last night of the BBC Proms, and she's here in January doing a recital. And then when we get to the spring, there's all manner of different projects going on, tie-ups with International Women's Day, tie-ups with the Science Day on the campus, and more exciting jazz programmes that we're trying to develop with friends across Europe.
That's amazing. So quite a lot in 2019 initially, like the first few weeks for the new semester and all that. Lastly, what kind of advice would you give to people who want to establish themselves in the arts?
Well, I would say be persistent and be curious. I mean, a lot of the artists who are working here and being part of the series have, they've started from just having a vision or having determination to do something. And if you can talk to those people, then you could learn about what their career path was, how they made it work. But to be honest, if I think about what I did, I just made a nuisance of myself. So from the moment that you start in your first year, just make sure that if you want to learn about the way the arts work, then talk to us, become an usher at the concert hall, come to the concerts and say, can I meet the artists? How do you put on concerts here? Why do you put these artists on? What makes this work? What makes that work? And the more that you can build up that knowledge and that, I suppose, insight and interest, means that when you get to the stage of thinking about what you want to do after you've graduated, then if you go into an interview situation, you have all manner of skills and knowledge and insights that hopefully the other people on the interview panel or who are being interviewed won't actually have, because you'll have seen it at first hand. But as I say, it's being curious, saying, why does this happen? Why does that happen? Rather than just going, oh, it's like it is because it is.